So you're thinking about moving to Rhode Island? Well, I'm standing with my good friend, Geoff Bansen, Chief Meteorologist at ABC6, and we are going to talk about Geoff's experience and his move to the state of Rhode Island. Geoff, great to have you. Usually people don't see you in this format on the Living in Rhode Island.
Well, I said you're making me feel informally dressed today, but I wear a suit every single day of my life, so whenever I have a chance to be a little bit more casual, I'll take you up on it.
You want to dress down. So tell us, first off, why you moved to the state of Rhode Island.
Well, of course, I moved here for my job at ABC, and it's been about 1.5 years now, maybe a little bit more than that.
Sure.
So fairly new, all things considered.
Absolutely. And tell us about your experience about living in the state of Rhode Island.
Well, obviously, as someone who grew up I grew up all in New York, lived mostly in New York for my life, coming to a new section of the country, even though not that far away. Yeah. It's a big adjustment and a big learning process. You're learning all over again. You got to learn neighborhoods, got to learn roads, got to learn everything. So, and you kind of helped me out with this last year when we were kind of in the thick of it.
And that's why we created the channel,
That's
right?
I mean, very, very helpful stuff.
Yeah.
Big difference living in the city, living in South County, living in maybe, there's so many options. You can live even in Connecticut or Southeast Mass if you really wanted to, but obviously living here in Rhode Island, there's just so many different choices, and everyone has its pros and cons. Obviously, you're in the city here. I'm close to work. A little bit more, I guess you could say, hustle bustle area. A lot
more
going
city
on.
life living.
Yeah, and then you, of course, have the suburbs, and down in South County, closer to the beaches. You got a little bit more quietness and privacy. So it's all a little bit of give and take. So
There's a give and take.
That was the learning curve. Sure.
What do you find, by moving, and of course we have the lawnmower passing us as well. What do you find to be some of the pros that you have found with your family moving to the state of Rhode Island?
I mean, the pros are very, very easy. First and foremost, everything's pretty close.
We call it the Rhode Island mentality.
I'm from Long Island, New York, so you kind of get used to everything there being like an average of a half an hour away. Some things are 20 minutes away.
No matter what you do.
Yeah, no matter where you go, what you do. Some things are 45 minutes away. Here in Rhode Island, and this is almost turns into a con because you get spoiled a little bit, but everything is like 10, 15 minutes away. And then, I'll even talk to my wife and she'll be like, oh yeah, I want to go all the way down here, but it's like 20 minutes. I don't know if I want. I was like, you have turned into a Rhode Islander.
It happens, because I'm originally from upstate New York. So that really is like when people say, oh, you're going to go up to Providence to film today, they're like, what are you doing? That's a whole day trip.
What a long haul, right?
What a long haul.
So that's like the first pro to me, is just everything is so close. You can be at the beach, and we actually did this past week. We were at the beach during the day, and then we went up to North Smithfield, Wright's Creamery. Best ice cream.
It's unreal. We'll give them a plug.
Yeah, definitely. But to be able to be doing one thing at the beach and then be going inland, where in the fall you could be doing apple picking, pumpkin picking, picking out a Christmas tree in December, and you can get there in 15, 20 minutes is just unreal.
Yeah, there's the feel of the opposite ends of the states here are totally different, and that's why I've always put videos together that the southern end of Rhode Island is much different than the middle and much different than the northern end. Rhode Island is one of those states where you can be in so many different places and have such a different feel, from Block Island to Point Judith to Westerly to Providence. There are so many different pockets within the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
What are some other pros that you would say about just living in the state of Rhode Island outside of everything being close?
It's just a good mix of everything. You've got the city right here. You've got, again, kind of goes into my first point. You have your beaches, you have your farms with all the fresh things that you could want. You've got, Boston's not too far if you want to go for a day trip.
Yeah,
New York,
45 minutes.
Connecticut's not that far. New Haven, get some New Haven pizza. But we've got some great pizza here.
Yeah,
in
Barstool Sports is giving shout outs to New Haven. I mean, we got some of the best pizza an hour and a half away.
Absolutely. So you're close proximity to that. We've got, Foxborough not too far away, Gillette Stadium. There's just so much to do, and you're getting a lot of, I feel like, up and coming businesses now. We just got a Topgolf.
Yeah, huge.
There's just so much going on here. I feel like, I'm from New York, and I feel like that's sort of spoils you into thinking, oh yeah, we're the heart of everything. We have, no one has more going on than us, but you come up here and it's very comparable.
Yeah. For you, what would you say, because every area, like you said, it has pros, it has cons. What are some of the cons that you've seen just from living in Rhode Island?
Cons, well, okay, I think, and we're not far from 195 in the bridge, in the Washington Bridge here, so that's going to be the first thing that comes to mind is traffic.
A little traffic congestion.
Although I will say, again, coming from New York, I don't personally think it's that bad.
Yeah, the traffic here is nominal compared to like major cities.
And obviously that's an extenuating circumstance.
Sure.
Cons, I would say, there's not a lot of cons. That should tell you something right there.
Yeah,
that
move
I have
here.
to really dig deep to pull out the cons.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, if you can't think of anything, I mean, really, I mean, the traffic a little bit. I mean, there's some congestion over on the bridge there now, but there's really not.
I will say this, and this is really reaching, I guess, but my car insurance came way up when I moved to Rhode Island.
It's because all the potholes. No.
I was gonna say maybe the potholes, maybe the I don't know, the driver's a little questionable around here sometimes. So I guess that would be my biggest con, is probably the driving around here, and then my insurance got jacked up. But outside of that, again, really not a lot comes to mind quickly. So,
sure, that's a good thing.
Which is a very good
Now
thing.
you're living in the Providence market, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about let's kind of zone in a little bit. Let's talk about what you really love about living in Providence.
Well, Providence, kind of the heart of everything here. I mean, what a cute little city. I mean, you're coming from the big city where, I mean, it can get overwhelming at times. It's nice to have like a small, cute little city with, little brunch spots, little boutiques, great pizza. I mean, you're not far away from, what I call Little Italy over here or at Atwell's and Dean, and all that stuff over there is just, I mean, my goodness, some of the best Italian food I've ever eaten.
Yeah,
gives Brooklyn a run for its money. But, there's just a lot going on here. I mean, we got the water fire, which is really cool, especially in the warm months.
Yeah, Thayer Street.
Thayer Street, absolutely. And I feel like every single weekend there's something new happening in the city.
There's a lot of
here.
events, both on the southern end and on the northern end too as well.
And the suburbs right around Providence, Cranston, Pawtucket, it just kind of doubles all the things that are going on. There's always some kind of festival, or there's a night market down in Cranston, by the Mulligan's Island golf course. Sure. That's such a fun event. It's fun to take my son. He can go bounce. Mom and Dad can
get some energy out.
Have a beer and try some local fairs and things like that. So yeah, there's just always stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. What, because you've experienced, living in Rhode Island, moving to Rhode Island, what are any nuggets that you can provide the viewers if you're thinking about moving to Rhode Island? Anything that a buyer should know outside of what you have experienced? What should a buyer know?
I mean, of course you have your basic things that you're looking for, like if you have kids, school district, things like that. I think Rhode Island kind of has everything that you're looking for, depending on what you are. If you like the quiet, more suburban, you have your Smithfields, your Lincolns.
You have rural feels, you have city feels.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming from Long Island, we're a big suburban area until you get to eastern Long Island, which, kind of almost feels like when you get down towards like Ashaway and parts of Westerly, kind of has that like little bit more like, okay, we're not that far from the city, but we're far enough. Yeah. But coming from Long Island, it was mostly suburban, very Cranston and Warwick feels to it. So I kind of gravitated towards those areas a little bit. But I think there's a little bit of something for everybody. So you definitely, if you want peace and quiet, I would say you probably want to gravitate more towards South County. Yeah. If you want the nautical feels, you have Newport, you have Bristol, you have Portsmouth, Quidnick Island. I haven't spent much time in Jamestown other than driving over it. I feel like a lot of people are
it's a quaint market.
So pretty.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on in the summer. It's definitely more quiet in the winter. So, that's Jamestown for you. Yeah.
Obviously, again, it's, different strokes for different folks when it comes to looking into different neighborhoods. But I mean, the market, even though we all know it's been blown up here over the last couple of years.
It's a hidden gem that has been found. COVID definitely accelerated that between two metropolitan cities, New York and Boston. A lot of people gravitated towards here to find that balance in that lifestyle of, hey, I can be close to my job if I need to go in, but also it's a great place to raise a family.
Yeah, that was one of the big things when we looked into this market, because I had a couple of different choices.
Sure.
Just kind of put feelers out, and Southern New England kind of resonated a little bit more with me growing up, by the water, loving the beach, loving, boating, things like that. And just an overall good place to raise a family. So I think this is the place that stood out, and fortunately it wound up working out,
And you do get a lot of views of the water here. That's one thing I remember. I spent the month of February in Nashville, and one thing that I missed greatly about Rhode Island was the fact that you really take for granted everywhere you drive really does have beautiful views of the water.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of locations. And it just made me feel a little claustrophobic after being inland because I didn't realize how much we were on the water.
I went to Nashville for the first time in April. Awesome city, but yeah, you totally, I mean, you got the river there, but that's really it. And it was only, what, 4 or 5 days we were there, and I was like kind of missing the water already. So
it's time to go back to Rhode Island.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, hopefully this gave you guys a great overview about moving to the state of Rhode Island. Geoff, we want to thank you for being on the channel today, and make sure you can watch him on ABC6. Don't miss him. And if you need any more information on Rhode Island at all, you can find all of my contact information in the description below.